How are you, Pat?
Doing well, Rich. Thank you very much for having me.
Set up the table for you. Is LSU your number one team if you were ranking them yourself?
Yeah, based on resume, yes, because they've played the best schedule and they're undefeated. Based on look test, it's kind of hard to go against Ohio State. They have just been incredible in every phase of the game. So I would say those two have daylight on everyone else at this point. I know, Alabama and Clemson are still where they are based on who they've been. And I think, they're obviously very good teams, but right now, LSU and Ohio State have some distance, I think.
And with Ohio State, the Ohio State. With the Ohio State University, and we're talking about, obviously, what Zeke looks like in the NFL and Michael Thomas, what he looks like in the NFL with the Saints. I mean, you could make the case that they're the top running back and wide receiver in the NFL right now. What Nick Bosa is doing in this level over the first 8 weeks has been defensive player of the year worthy. And now we're watching Chase Young wreck everything at the collegiate level. Would you put him in a Heisman Trophy race right now, Pat?
Sure, yeah. I mean, he's the best player on that team. Justin Fields has been great. J.K. Dobbins has been great, but he has been the best player. And, I mean, he's just annihilating teams. I mean, what he did to Wisconsin was one of the more dominant defensive performances I've seen. Watching him, and I've been trying to come up with a comp.
Right.
He's thicker in the lower body and longer than Von Miller. So, he's almost more like Julius Peppers, I think, in terms of, he's 6'6", and he's fast, but he's got the base to be able to withstand blocking too. He's a beast. If you don't need a quarterback, I would think you're taking Chase Young first in the draft.
Yeah, I know. Ginormous is the only word I would use. I mean, Julius Peppers is an interesting comp, Pat. It's fascinating because you don't think of somebody Julius Peppers' size doing the stuff that we're seeing Young do. He does look like he's got Von Miller game in Julius Peppers' body. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, he's just something. You could see it coming last year, and they were raving about him at Ohio State, and now he has taken it up the appropriate next level. He's the next great pass rusher, after the brothers Bosa and several others they've put out there at Ohio State.
Pat Forde of Yahoo Sports joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get to LSU, and I mean they're using a former Ohio State quarterback in Joe Burrow being number one right now. How do you think they match up against Alabama, since obviously we're looking over the steering wheel at their next game here?
Yeah, both of them have an off date, so we can go ahead and look ahead. And I think they match up really well. I think so far they've been the better team, and especially if Tua is at all compromised coming back from the ankle situation. So I've been dazzled by the transformation of LSU. They were always very talented and extremely boring. Because they were just so mediocre and vanilla offensively, and now. They are aerial circus, throw it all over, great wide receivers, exciting quarterback. I mean, they are just a totally different team to watch, and it's going to be a really fun matchup. If you remember, in 2011, number one, number two, LSU, Alabama, that was a 9-6 game. Mm-hmm. This could be 49-40. Right. I mean, it could be an absolute shootout.
That would be amazing, for sure. And Burrow, obviously a Heisman candidate right now for LSU and this team, and him versus Tua would be fascinating. What are you hearing about Tua's ankle as we're currently sitting here right now?
All the talk is positive, confident. He's going to be fine. We'll see how it actually works out. He had a similar procedure done to the other ankle last year on December 1st. He played on December 29th in the playoff game against Oklahoma, and he was very good. I'm not sure he was 100%, and that was 4 weeks. This is a 3-week turnaround. So you're asking more from him from that standpoint, and I think they'll need more from him than they probably needed in that game. So, I think it's a lot to ask, but they're saying all the right things so far coming out of Tuscaloosa.
So you mentioned Oklahoma. Let's get to it right now. How stunning was that loss for you?
Oh, absolutely shocking. I mean, they had just been playing so well, handling everything that came at them, that I did not see that coming. But, it's that time of year. Third straight week we have had an undefeated top 10 team lose to an unranked opponent. It was South Carolina over Georgia. It was Illinois over Wisconsin, and now Oklahoma takes a hit. And, what it showed to me is that their defense hadn't been fully fixed. There had been major improvement from the year before, but that was a big backslide to give up 48 points to Kansas State.
So does that cost them a college football playoff spot, Pat? There's only 4 of them, and I think there should be 8
right.
because we're sitting here right now. I mean, let's get into it right here, right now. As we're sitting here right now, LSU and Alabama, we assume, is going to play a competitive game that will leave even the loser worthy of a playoff spot should the SEC championship game not take care of the winner of the game. Then you've got Ohio State. We'll get to my alma mater in a moment to see how that might stack up in late November. Clemson, we all see the competition that's coming their way. I mean, how does Alabama crack? I mean, how does Oklahoma crack that top 4, Pat?
I don't think they do. I mean, they're up against it. The problems are, the rest of the league is pretty uninspiring. So, what looked like a big win over Texas, well, Texas just lost to TCU. Their big non-conference win was over UCLA. Well, we know UCLA isn't that good. So the resume, it's going to be hard to stack that up and say that it compares to anybody from the Big Ten or the SEC. And then, if Clemson's sitting there 13-0 as the defending champions, they're going. So, I think that they're in a difficult spot here. That was a very damaging loss for Oklahoma.
Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports here on the Rich Eisen Show. And let's get into Lincoln Riley, Pat, because, again, to bring up the NFL, you've got an open job in D.C. where they drafted a 50-touchdown thrower from Ohio State just last year. They need a coach to take that kid to the next level. You've got a team in Cleveland that has Baker Mayfield at their helm right there, Lincoln's former player. You also have a Cowboys team that has their coach on a prove-it deal. You've got a Jets team that's got only 1 win with somebody like Sam Darnold. What I'm driving at is there are a host of NFL teams that would love to take their young quarterback or their situation and hand it to somebody with so much buzz about him. Is Lincoln Riley possible to go to the NFL as we're currently sitting here right now?
Yeah, he's got to listen, doesn't he? I mean, for all the reasons you just enunciated, there's going to be teams that want him. There's going to be situations where he would have, the kind of guy to work with that he has done great work already. And I mean, if you want to, the dude grew up in Muleshoe, Texas. I bet he wouldn't mind coaching the Cowboys, if that one opens up. So, I think he would have to listen. Does he want to go? I don't know. Does a loss like that make him look and say, gosh, here in the Big 12, we lose 1 game and our season could be ruined. I don't know. But he's a great fit in college, but he could be a very good NFL coach, I think, as well, just because of sheer offensive acumen and quarterback wizardry. I mean, he fits what that league wants right now.
And do you think he would obviously just listen? Anything that you might hear going on at Oklahoma, or the fact that there might not be another quarterback currently in the pipeline that he could turn into a Heisman Trophy candidate, anything of that nature that might add some fuel to this fire that no doubt I think is coming figuratively to the NFL.
Yeah, they've got the next 5-star there on campus, the wonderfully named, evocatively named Spencer Rattler, sitting there waiting in the wings. Who knows? There may be, another grad transfer that's out there saying, I can't wait to go try to spend a year with Lincoln Riley. So he's definitely not going to be hurting for talent to coach at Oklahoma. And, if you look at it objectively, he should have the best team in the Big 12 since Texas can't get out of its own way for the foreseeable future. And so, he's got a good thing right now. But again, if you're trying to win national championships, does he look and say that the conference could be a bit of an impediment, a bit of a ceiling? Or do you say, if we go 13-0 and take care of our business, we'll be fine? Or do you say, no, I want to try the NFL. I want to try that level. It's really kind of, I think, just going to be kind of what moves him. But the opportunities are likely to be there.
And then my final moments with you, Pat Forde, a moment for me, if you don't mind. Michigan just destroying Notre Dame. I mean, just absolutely spanking him. Why 14 more years? Where the hell did that come from? I thought that was a misprint when I saw it on the bottom line that these two teams renew their rivalry for 2032 and 2033. What is the genesis of that?
I don't know. Michigan made it clear afterwards with their cheeky but also insufferable tweet, that they made it clear that this was Notre Dame's decision, basically. And hey, we're here. We'll play you whenever. So it is a shame because it's a great rivalry. Love seeing those two play. And, now I'm intrigued whether Harbaugh's what seemed like a burst of grandiosity coming out of halftime to Maria Taylor at Penn State about this is going to be our finest hour. Maybe he was right. because they played a great second half there. They're drop touchdown away from tying that game and maybe winning. And then they come out and just steamroll Notre Dame. I'm like, whoa, have they finally flipped the switch there in Ann Arbor?
Well, in order to match up with Ohio State, they have to do far better on the defensive side of the ball when the crossing routes come and those shallow crosses and that clearly confounded Michigan or that Michigan refused to get out of their defensive set to try and adjust to last November, and obviously scoring points would be crucial too. I'm wondering how you see it based on the last couple of weeks here, Pat.
Yeah, you would still look and say Ohio State's the better team. And as you pointed out, what was the glaring mismatch last year? Ryan Day undressed Don Brown and hit him where the mismatches were obvious. With just the speed and them trying to cover man to man, going across the middle and out to the wings, and it's just they just toyed with them that way. Different set of circumstances. They would be in Ann Arbor this year. It should be a closer game, but we'll see if Michigan can sustain what they've showed for the last game and a half. If they can, hey, bring it on. That would be a lot of fun to see a competitive, compelling, important Michigan-Ohio State game.
And what did that loss tell you about Brian Kelly and Notre Dame and what's going on with that program?
Yeah. I saw him play Louisville in person at the beginning of the season. Then I saw him against Georgia, and they're limited. They have their limitations. They've recruited well enough to be consistently good. They haven't recruited well enough to be elite. And something's wrong with Ian Book. He just hasn't played well this year. He had big games against New Mexico and Bowling Green. Big whoop. Everyone else says he's struggled against. So, there's still a gap between where Notre Dame is and where Notre Dame thinks of itself being.
Pat, appreciate the time. Always enjoy reading your work and hearing you whenever you appear on other shows, including this one, obviously. So thanks for the call. We'll chat hopefully in short order.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rick.
You got it. That's Pat Forde of Yahoo Sports at Yahoo Forde on Twitter, Forde.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.